The alarm blared through the cargo bay of the stellar horizon. A deep space transport vessel carrying supplies to the Kepler-4 mining colony. Oscar Chen, the ship's chief engineer, dropped his plasma wrench and sprinted toward the containment section, his boots clanging against the metal grating. Status report. He barked into his cum. Containment breach in Bay 7, came the panicked voice of Daisy Rodriguez, his second in. The Zolothian specimen, it's loose. Oscar's blood ran cold. The Zolothian Deathstalker wasn't just any cargo. It was classified as a Class 12 apex predator, banned from transport through 17 star systems. The creature had acid for blood, retractable titanium heart claws, and a neurotoxin that could paralyze a Crothian bat. The xenobiologists who'd packaged it had included a 3-page warning label that essentially read, "If this thing gets out, you're already dead." He rounded the corner to find Daisy standing outside the bay doors, her face pale beneath her grease-stained cheeks. The rest of the engineering crew, Martinez, Singh, and O'Brien, huddled behind her, clutching whatever tools they'd grabbed as weapons. "How bad?" Oscar asked. "The containment pod cracked during the gravity fluctuation an hour ago," Daisy explained, pulling up a holographic display. The creature chewed through the secondary barriers like they were tissue paper. On the security feed, Oscar could see it, a nightmare of chitinous armor and too many legs. Roughly the size of a German shepherd but built like a tank crossed with a scorpion. Its segmented tail whipped back and forth, dripping venom that sizzled when it hit the floor. Multiple eyes glowed in eerie crimson in the dim cargo bay lighting. "We need to evacuate this section and vent it to space," Martinez suggested, his voice shaking. "Can't," Singh interjected. "Half our replacement parts for the hyperdrive are in there. We vent that bay, we're stranded for 3 months waiting for rescue." Oscar studied the creature on the screen. It wasn't attacking anything. In fact, it seemed to be ... investigating. Its antennae-like sensory organs swept back and forth as it explored the cargo containers with an almost curious quality. "I'm going in," Oscar announced. "Are you insane?" Daisy grabbed his arm. "That thing killed 6 Zolothian hunters before they managed to trap it." "Yeah, but they were trying to hunt it." Oscar began cycling through the bay's environmental controls. "Look at its behavior. It's not aggressive, it's scared and confused. It just woke up in a strange place after who knows how long in stasis." He pulled up everything he could find on Zolothian desk. Most of it was warnings and incident reports, but buried in the xenobiology database was a brief note: "Highly intelligent, perk-oriented social structure, responds to non-threatening stimuli." "I have an idea," Oscar said, already moving toward the equipment locker. "Daisy, kill the red spectrum lighting in the bay and switch to blue. Martinez, grab the portable food synthesizer. Singh, I need you to dampen the acoustic levels, no sudden noises." "Oscar, this is suicide," Daisy protested, but she was already entering commands. 10 minutes later, Oscar stood at the bay door, armed with nothing but a container of synthesized proteins and what humans had possessed since the dawn of time: absolute fearlessness, bordering on stupidity, and an inexplicable desire to befriend anything with a face. The door hissed open. The Deathstalker spun toward him immediately, tail raised, mandibles clicking. Oscar's heart hammered, but he slowly knelt and placed the container on the floor, then sat down cross-legged, making himself small and non-threatening. "Hey there, buddy," he said softly. "Rough day, huh?" "Yeah, I bet. Being in a box. Then boom, everything's different." "I get it." The creature cocked its head, a distinctly curious gesture. Its tail lowered slightly. Oscar slid the container forward a few inches. The smell of protein-rich food wafted through the bay. "Made you something. Thought you might be hungry." From the doorway, Daisy watched through the security feed, her heart in her throat. "He's insane," she whispered. "Completely insane." But something miraculous was happening. The Deathstalker approached slowly, its multiple eyes fixed on Oscar. It sniffed the container, then carefully, almost delicately, began to eat. Oscar didn't move. He kept talking in that same soft, steady voice, the way one might speak to a frightened dog. "There you go. That's better, right? You're not a monster, just lost and scared. Been there, buddy. Been there." 20 minutes later, the creature was lying beside Oscar, its armored head resting against his leg while he gently scratched behind its sensory organs. Its tail wagged slowly, actually wagged, scraping against the floor with a sound like knives on a whetstone. Daisy finally entered the bay, moving slowly. "Oscar, what did you do?" "Made a friend," he replied with a grin. "Turns out everything in the galaxy wants the same basic things: food, safety, and someone to scratch the right spot. Command is going to lose their minds, let them." Oscar looked down at the creature, which had begun making a sound suspiciously like purring if purrs could melt steel. Besides, every good engineering team needs a mascot. Isn't that right, Spike? As if in response, Spike rolled over, exposing its armored belly, a sign of complete trust. The deadliest predator in 3 sectors had been reduced to a puppy in approximately 45 minutes of human interaction. Word spread quickly through the ship and eventually across the colonial networks. The crew of the Stellar Horizon became famous not for surviving an encounter with a Deathstalker, but for adopting one. Spike became a fixture in the engineering bay, often found sleeping on a bed of thermal blankets near the reactor core, or following Daisy around as she conducted inspections. When xenobiologists finally studied the interaction, their conclusion was simple: humans possess an unprecedented ability to form social bonds with virtually any species. This trait, while baffling, may be their greatest survival advantage. Oscar just called it Tuesday. And throughout the galaxy, other species learned an important lesson: never underestimate a human's ability to look at certain death and think, "I'm gonna pet it."